So let me bring this back for you for a second. It used to be a 5-year strategic plan, and once a year we'd see if we need to adjust and morph. Now it's a 1-year strategic plan, and every single quarter we need to say what's working, what's not working, what do we need to morph and adjust. We never want to change for the sake of changing, but we always need to be thinking critically and strategically to make sure. Hey everyone, welcome to the Intentional Leader Podcast. This is the podcast where you hear the real stories of people just like you who become extraordinary leaders. You'll learn valuable lessons from their lives, lessons that you can apply to become the best leader you were created to be. When leaders are intentional, lives are changed. I'm your host, Sean Olson. I am an author, speaker, business owner, and podcast host. We're glad to have you on the Intentional Leader Podcast today. If you would do us a favor as we get going today, just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave some comments, make all the algorithms happy. We would greatly appreciate it because you are what make this show special. Today, I do not have a guest. This is a solo episode. I do this a couple of times a year to really just kind of address what's going on in business, what's going on in leadership, really just to kind of hopefully inspire you and challenge you in different things that you might be facing. And so today, I'm just going to work through a couple of different things. And as we're going through this, I want to start out with trends in business. What is happening right now? We've gotten through Q1 of 2026. What is the landscape? What's the environment? What's going on geopolitically? And all I can say is that as much like it has been for the last decade, is there is so much noise in the world. There's so much geopolitical noise of what's taking place. And now there's wars taking place in different realms. The United States is taking care of business in Iran, and all of those things impact business, and they create discomfort. I was talking to a number of business owners at a conference last week in Baltimore, Maryland, and they're just kind of like, yeah, we're navigating, we're building our systems and doing what we need to do, but there's the unknown. There's that challenge of what is really going to be taking place, and so with that, there is discomfort. I'm sure you all know of the word disease. And if you break down disease, it's dis-ease. I think that there is a dis-ease that is rampant in business across this country today. And that dis-ease, I just don't feel right. I'm not sure which way to go. Do I invest right now? Do I not invest right now? How is AI going to impact things? That dis-ease for many of us, especially in leadership, is creating a lack of decisiveness. And when there's a lack of decisiveness, we wait for things to happen to us, and we have to react what happens to us instead of saying, what is a good, critical thinking, strategic step that I can take today to navigate and take care of this? Let me give you an example of this. Reenergize Professional Coaching is an executive coaching business. 2/3 of our work is working with leaders one-on-one through executive coaching, and then also leadership development is the other third of our business. AI is impacting coaching. There are coaching apps popping up everywhere, and those coaching apps give you great tips and tools. I'm getting ready to have a difficult conversation with somebody on my team. What do? You go to the app, it gives you steps. So the question is, like many industries, is AI going to replace coaching? The answer to that is no, it will not, because coaching is really the human aspect, the human element. Taking that same illustration of the app that can give you tips and tools for a difficult convo, that's awesome. What that app cannot take into account is who you are as a leader, your natural tendencies, your relationship with the person you're going to have the difficult conversation with. What's the typical response of that person you're going to be talking to? How do they receive feedback? How do you need to frame it? So those tips and tools that I receive through AI are great, but I've got to add flesh. I've got to add humanity to it for it to really be effective. And so like in our business, our question is not, will AI replace us? Our question is, how do we embrace AI and use AI in an impactful way while maintaining the fact that our coaching is about the person, the human element, and it does things that AI will never be able to do? It's a yes and. It is not an either or, but it still creates dis-ease. But in that dis-ease, we are not stopping. We're not waiting to see what happens. We're being proactive and saying, how do we embrace this? So I've really found you need to be proactive. One huge piece of this aspect of where we are in business today is that you need to be a critical strategic thinker. Many people, honestly, are not critical strategic thinkers. It is a skill that can be learned, applied, adapted, so you can grow in it. So the good news is, whether you are or not a critical thinker right now, you can develop that skill set. But here's why this is important. Historically, businesses have had that 3 or 5 year strategic plan. I'm a firm believer in those plans, because when you do not plan, things happen to you. You have to plan. I think a 3 to 5 year strategic plan is awesome. I really do. And I would never say don't do that. But I would say something different than I would have said 5 years ago or 10 years ago. 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I would have said, have your 3 to 5 year strategic plan, have the big markers, the big rocks in it, and then the little execution pieces around it, and realize you may need to morph and adjust a little bit over those 3 to 5 years. So the thought would have been to morph or adjust the 3 to 5 year plan. We're at a place today where I think it's important to look ahead 3 to 5 years. You need to be 5 steps ahead in your strategy, as Patrick Bet-David says. But beyond that, quite honestly, I think you need to refocus in on what is happening in the next 12 months, 1 year plans. I was at an event just this morning that had the head coach of Ohio State University football, Ryan Day, and the athletic director of the Ohio State University, Ross Bork. And in that meeting, they were talking about what's going on within college sports. Obviously, they had a football context to it, but really what's going on in college sports in general, because of the transfer portal and because of the NIL. They said something incredible. Every single year, you almost start over. What are the new rules that are going to be hitting us this year? What's our team look like this year? Is this the right team to take us where we need to go? And it's like every single year is a new year in and of itself. They also said, important piece with this because of the constant transition year to year, they said the foundation, so it doesn't crumble, is it really needs to begin with understanding communication. And it needs to begin to understand of like, what is the foundation? What is the culture that we're actually going to keep in spite of what our year to year may do? But in college sports, it's literally year to year. You might have a new team, new students, new rules, new regulations. It's not that different in business today. Literally, like you can have your 3 to 5 year strategy, but I have to look at what is coming this year. What's going to happen this year? What are the big things we need to move to actually get business results? Not just activity, because I'll be honest with you, a lot of strategic plans, it is activity, activity, activity. We don't want to have the activity if it doesn't drive business results. So what needs to happen this year? So you have to shrink the time frame of your critical and strategic thinking for your business to be successful. You as a leader need to shrink the time frame of who is in my team, where's my bench, what's the succession plans, and what do I need to do for them this year, while understanding 3 to 5 years down the road, this is where we're going to be able to take them. In that realm of the 1 year plan, you also need to be absolutely intentional at quarterly check-ins on that plan. So let me bring this back for you for a second. It used to be a 5 year strategic plan, and once a year we'd see if we need to adjust and morph. Now it's a 1 year strategic plan, and every single quarter we need to say what's working, what's not working, what do we need to morph and adjust. We never want to change for the sake of changing, but we always need to be thinking critically and strategically to make sure that we are on the right path. So every quarter it's sitting down saying, did we accomplish what we meant to accomplish this quarter? If we did, awesome. Is it helping us meet our business objectives? If it's not meeting the business objective, do we do it the next quarter? Or maybe we met all those objectives, so now what are those pieces to roll out in Q2 to keep us driving down that field? So the importance of you developing that critical thinking, that strategic mindset, and regularly going back and looking at it, that is the trend, catch this, to be successful in business right now. You don't have to do it, but if you don't do it, your competition is going to get a leg up. And you may say, well, I don't really have competition. Everybody's got competition. Everything in our culture is competition today. And so you have to have, really, in many senses, a competitive mindset to say, I'm going after this and this is what we're going to do. And we have to keep looking at it and rely on your team to fill that in. So that's kind of a look at some of like the landscape of where we are today. Because of all those things, I want to roll to another topic. It's something that I'm seeing on a regular basis. And this topic is about leadership exclusively. Okay, the leaders in organizations. And if you're listening to this program, the Intentional Leader podcast, you are a leader and we want you to become an intentional leader. And here's what I found. Leaders are learners. I've said that before. But as a leader, we have a tendency to actually get to a place where we're like, I've heard what I need to hear. I've learned what I need to learn. I have good self-awareness now. I understand my team. I understand my culture. Almost like I've arrived as a leader. But what we don't realize is leadership is not a destination. Leadership is a journey. And with the landscape that we just talked about, you as a leader need to keep elevating your game to stay on pace and to help lead your team in the right direction. So what's the leadership concept behind this? As a leader, you always, and I mean always, have to be asking yourself, what's the next step? How do I elevate? You've probably heard this phrase before. What got me here will not get me there. In other words, the leadership skills that help me take the business to where it is today or build my team the way they are today, those same skills are not the skills I need to go to the next level. And so what are those skills to go to the next level? A lot of us don't know. And that's why it's so important to be a learner as a leader. Watching podcasts, reading books, reading articles and magazines, having an executive coach. I know that seems self-seeking right now because we're an executive coaching firm, but to have somebody else from the outside who's not in your daily business, who can poke holes in your processes, your procedures, how you're doing things, how you are as a leader. How are you growing and developing? How are you delegating and empowering? You have to elevate your game. I was at a workshop just recently with an organization. It was an offsite workshop. It was good to be with them. It was actually the 5th year I've been with them. And in this context, I know that executive leadership team very, very well. But I will say this, they're a lot like your executive teams. Here's what I mean. The team that was there 5 years ago is not the same team that is there today. A lot of players have turned over. There are about 10 people in that group. There has been anywhere from 10 to 14, but a lot of those players have changed. About half of them, 5 or 6, have been consistent over that 5-year period. You're in that same place. This goes back to that yearly thing. The dynamics, the makeup of your team are constantly changing. So as the leader of your team, you need to stay on top of what is my team. You've heard the idea of teams in the sense of forming, storming, norming, performing. So we're forming this team. We have these new players in here. We're storming, trying to figure out who does what dynamics are in place, what skill sets do we have going on here. And then we get to that point where we're forming. We actually know what we're doing and how we're executing it. And that leads us to being a performing team. Every time there's a player change, you go back to storming. Literally, every time there's a player change, you go back to storming because you have to reevaluate what do we have on the field? How have people grown? What are the dynamics that have changed around us? In order to do that, you need to elevate your game. When I was having this workshop with this team, what I'm most proud of about this team, yes, they've had turnover. They've had some transition, some from retirement, some from letting people go. But they keep upgrading. They keep hiring better people. And the people that have been there the entire time have gone up a few times. Because of that, because of how they have grown personally, how they've grown as a team, as an organization, they have new challenges today. And what got them here will not get them there. meaning they have opportunities to expand and scale their enterprise. In order to do that, the leader of that organization has to be able to be outward facing. And in order for that to happen, the people around her need to step up in a different way. And so it's not this aspect of like, don't be happy with where we are. Celebrate the wins, celebrate the growth, celebrate what's taking place, be grateful for new opportunities. But I have to take another step. I have to elevate because of all the changes that are taking place. And as I worked on this with this team, it was so awesome because so many that were able to share the victories and those wins that they've had. And then as we dove into what's next, to take advantage of the opportunities that were there, it was a combination of making sure that our organizational processes are in alignment. Organizational processes. We have to have process excellence, which leads to performance excellence. Because if the processes are in place, no matter what people we plug in, we're going to keep being able to march on. They also realize we need to build our own bench. We need to invest in the people on our teams to elevate them to do things that we used to do, to free us up to do things that we need to do now that are different because of our growth and the opportunity to scale. For the leader of that organization, it was tough because everybody on her executive team really needs to step up so she can unload more of the daily, the ops, and really begin to become that outward facing ambassador. So that entire team of 10 that I was with last week, everybody was able to identify personally and collectively how we need to step up and elevate. So as a leader, you are a learner. With the culture and the state of business today and the constant change and transition, 1-year plans, quarterly check-ins, you also need to be asking the question, what's next for me? How do I need to step up? How do I need to grow to navigate these situations effectively? Which leads me to our third and final point today. So we kind of talked about the landscape, the trends that are taking place today. We've talked about how to elevate your game because you need to stay on top of it, which leads me to a third point that's been very frequent with us lately is the idea of mindset. Mindset. In other words, what am I focusing in on and thinking about right now? 3 different levels of mindset. First level is self. So imagine like you're putting that hat on, okay? So you're putting your team to the side, you're putting the enterprise to the side. I'm going to put on this hat for myself. Where am I right now? How am I feeling right now? Do I have contentment and joy in what I'm doing? Do I see where I need to go and grow? Is there opportunity for me here to go and grow? Or do I need to maybe look somewhere else? But putting that hat on and really focusing in saying, where do I want to get better this year? What's the one thing I really need to do to get better this year for myself, for my team, for my family? And when you put that hat on, it is very, very introspective. And sometimes to understand yourself better, you need to get input from other people. So ask other people questions, give them the freedom to provide developmental feedback to you so that you can get better. But you got to own it. You got to own it and say, I can't expect everyone else in my business to grow if I'm not going to grow myself. There is no performance excellence without personal excellence. Am I striving for excellence in all that I'm doing? You have to have that hat on. You have to literally stop some of the busyness. Like I would say, dedicate 15 minutes a week. 15 minutes a week, not a ton of time, where you sit down, turn off your phone, turn off your email, close your laptop, get out pen and paper, get out a journal. Where am I? Where do I need to grow? What course do I need to take? What conference do I need to attend? What coach do I need to bring in so I can go to the next level? What are those things I need to add to my toolkit in the next year? What are tools I need to throw out of my toolkit because we're not doing those things anymore? You have to have a focus on you to be effective as a leader every day. We'd love to walk that journey with you. 2 more hats to go. Let's take off the individual hat. Let's put on the team hat. As an individual, I am a leader and I need to focus on myself. But now I want to forget about me for a second. I want to focus on my people. Who on my team is really doing well? Who on my team could be my successor, could take my place if given the opportunity? What do I need to provide for my team right now? What gaps are there in our execution, in our processes, and our performance that I can have one of them or two of them focus in on? It's the same aspect of stopping for 15 to 30 minutes a week. This is in addition to your self time, say 15 more minutes a week to say, all right, no phone, no laptop, no email, no distractions. I'm closing my door, putting on my team hat. What does my team need from me? And literally mapping it out. And in some senses, you're almost like guiding and directing your next one-on-one with them, where you move way beyond just tactical, which most one-on-ones are, and you move into developmental and strategic, investing in them, helping them to become the best version of themselves. And I've used this phrase with organizations, and I firmly believe this, and I want you to hear this. If you are not intentionally investing in one or two people to take your place, succession plan. If you're not intentionally investing in one or two people to take your place, you are not leading well. I know that seems harsh. I know that seems somewhat dramatic. And some of you may be writing me off right now saying, oh, whatever. No, I'm being serious. Intentionally investing in one or two people to take your place. Because when you have that self hat on, you're talking about how you want to grow and excel as a leader. Well, if you're stepping up, people need to fill in behind you. That's why you want to always be investing in your successor. And when you invest in people that way, it actually helps you to stay focused and to have accountability for yourself and what you're doing so that you can drive accountability and execution through the rest of your team. But you have to put that team hat on. You have to think about it. You have to give energy to it so you can build trust. You can give it energy. You can have accountability so that the mission can be accomplished. That's where teams win, but it's up to you as the intentional leader to help them get there. There is a third hat. So we've put our self hat on and off. We've put our team hat on and off. Third hat is the enterprise hat. And here's the fun thing about the enterprise hat. Most of us never put it on. We've actually never even thought about putting it on. We think that's the CEO's job. That's the officer's job in the organization, the C-suite. They're the ones that put on the enterprise hat and think about things from a global, holistic basis. They're the ones that are looking at the trends in business. They're the ones that are responsible for giving direction for where the organization needs to go. I am a leader in the organization, but I am not in the C-suite. Therefore, the enterprise hat is not necessary. Totally wrong. Because everything that you do in your function, everything you do as a leader, everything you do to build your team impacts the enterprise. And if you truly want to elevate your game, you have to put on that enterprise hat. So what does that mean to put on the enterprise hat? It means looking around the corner at things you've never looked at before. For instance, if you are in sales, you have quotas, you have processes, and you understand that if I follow these processes, if I follow up on this many leads and book this many appointments, I'm going to get this many sales, and that's going to help me meet my quotas. And we have those processes in place, we have those sales in place. But as a salesperson or a sales leader, imagine stopping, putting on the enterprise hat and saying, when I hit my marks, when my team hit my marks, how does that impact manufacturing? Are they able to keep pace with this? When we oversell, like we have a crazy, crazy good month, how does that impact manufacturing? How does that impact how the organization has reserve funds? Because when we have a good quarter, we don't want to blow all that money, that profit. We want to hold on to that profit reserve funds for future investment and for those low quarters that are going to be taking place. But as a salesperson, it's thinking around the corner, how does what I do impact other people in the business? Let's say you're on the finance side. Finance drives many, many things in business. We are a business, right? As a business, finance drives everything. Am I telling the rest of the organization, am I telling the different functions in the organization how finance impacts their functions? But even beyond that, flip the script. Am I listening to those other functions to understand how they generate revenue, or maybe they are cost center? We have both inside of our businesses, cost centers and revenue generators and functions. Do I, in finance, understand how the cost centers are trying to handle their costs, how the revenue generating sectors can actually generate more revenue? What are they doing to get there? How can I strategically help them? That's having that enterprise hat. Or maybe it's just looking big picture, saying, what is the strategy of our organization? We know our culture. We hear about our culture. We're trying to continue to build our culture and make it better. But what's coming next? What are the trends in business? It is your job, no matter your role in the organization, to understand trends that are coming, to set you up for success, your team up for success, and the enterprise up for success. So I literally challenge you to take another 15 minutes a week, mark it on your calendar, put away your phone, close your laptop, focus in, put on the enterprise hat. How is what I'm doing right now impacting the enterprise? How is my team impacting the enterprise? What other things do I need to learn about in reference to the enterprise so I can be more successful and be an influencer inside the organization? It is all about mindset. So I want to finish with this today about mindset. I've said the hats and focusing in and putting away your phone and things like that. The fact of the matter is, we are best in our jobs when we are focused. But most of us never get fully focused. It is just constant distractions taking place around us. So one of the greatest things you can do as a leader is identify, what do I need to do? How can I change my patterns so that I can have true dedicated focus on the things that are important, on the things that are going to drive business, on my leadership? Focus is everything. And I know a lot of you right now are saying, I don't have the time to focus. It's a whirlwind. It's constant craziness and chaos around me. I believe it. I really do. I believe it, because we hear that from all organizations and all leaders all the time. But here's an interesting piece. The organizations that are breaking through barriers, the organizations that are scaling, the organizations that are saying we can navigate all that's going on, the trends in life and business, are the ones that are stopping to focus in. You see, there's return on investment for focus time. So I said 3 hats, 15 minutes apiece. That's 45 minutes a week, sitting down, focusing in on your leadership. When you do that, you will be more efficient, you'll be more effective, and you'll probably get 5 to 7x time on that. So if you're spending 45 minutes a week focusing in, 15 minutes each on those 3 hats, you're probably going to see 5 to 6 hours of efficiency and effectiveness that results from taking that 45 minutes to really focus in. When you have other things to do, focusing in makes a huge difference. I understand it's hard. I struggle with focusing on a regular basis. We are 27 minutes into this podcast right now. Some of you are like, I don't know if I can keep focused on this. Learn how to focus, learn how to learn how to plan and be critical in your thinking, strategic in your thinking, so that you can navigate the chaos that's happening around you every day. Here's my challenge to you. Be an intentional leader. Stay on top of the trends in business. Stay on top of building out your team and elevating your leadership. Stay on top of the 3 mindsets of self, team, and enterprise, and great things are going to come your way. I want to challenge you to put some comments in the section here on the podcast of what is your biggest challenge right now with the 3 hats. Is it self? Is it team? Is it enterprise? Let's have those conversations. I'd love to have you reach out to us at Renigize. You can find us at renigize.com. You can email me personally, Sean@renigize.com, SEAN. Let's talk about this. Let us coach you through, because intentional leaders influence other people and change lives. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Intentional Leader Podcast. I'm proud of you. I know you're a great leader. I know you're a leader that wants to elevate. Reach out to me. I'd love to help you on that journey. God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Intentional Leader Podcast presented by Renigize Professional Coaching. Be sure to see the show notes for links to Renigize Professional Coaching and links to contact our guests. Now, hit that subscribe button so that you are alerted with every new episode of the Intentional Leader Podcast.